The targeting laser hit Marcus Chen's chest plate at 600 hours, painting him with a bright crimson dot that meant death in any language. He froze mid-step, rifle half raised, suddenly very aware that somewhere in the fog-shrouded tree line, an alien sniper had his heart in her crosshairs. The Valkorin were legendary marksmen. Their kill ratio in the border wars was something like 47-1. He was going to die in this muddy field on some backwater moon, and he hadn't even finished his coffee. "Contact! Sniper! Bearing northeast!" Corporal Davis shouted, diving for cover that wasn't there. But the shot didn't come. Chen stood perfectly still, watching the red dot drift across his chest, pause over his heart, then move to his shoulder. His forehead. His throat. Back to his heart. She was playing with him. "Chen, get down!" Sergeant Morrison's voice was panicked. "That's an order. If she wanted me dead, Sergeant, I'd be dead already." The red dot circled his heart 3 times, slowly, deliberately, then vanished. Chen exhaled. His hands were shaking, but his voice stayed steady as he keyed at his comm. "Sniper has disengaged. Possibly repositioning. Or possibly reloading," Davis muttered. But Chen didn't think so. He'd felt something in that moment, when the laser traced patterns on his armor. Not malice. Not bloodlust. Something else. Curiosity. The Valkorin had been at war with the Terran Accord for 11 years. Chen had fought them on 4 different worlds, watched friends die under their precise, merciless fire. They were the enemy, cold, efficient, utterly alien in their philosophy of warfare. So why had this one let him live? He didn't have time to wonder. The rest of the patrol was already moving, eager to get out of the kill zone. Chen followed, but he couldn't shake the feeling that somewhere in those trees, amber eyes were still watching him. 3 hours later, they found her. Not by skill, by accident. Private Torres tripped a perimeter alarm she'd set, and suddenly they were surrounded by the harsh wail of Valkorin security measures. "Defensive positions," Morrison ordered. But instead of an ambush, they found a single figure slumped against a tree, silver-white blood pooling beneath her. Female, based on the facial structure. Her rifle, the same one that had painted Chen's chest, he was certain, lay just out of reach. She'd been hit by something big. Shrapnel probably from the orbital strike 2 days ago. The wound in her side was catastrophic. She should have been dead hours ago. "Holy shit," Davis breathed. "That's a war dancer. Look at the markings." Chen looked. The intricate scars running down her arms weren't decorative. They were kill counts. Each thin line represented 10 confirmed deaths. She had at least 30 lines visible. 300 kills. Minimum. "Command's going to want her alive," Morrison said. "Intel value alone." The Valkorin's eyes snapped open. Chen had never seen eyes that color before. Pale amber, almost gold, with pupils that contracted to razor-thin slits. They found his face immediately, and he realized with a jolt that she recognized him. Of course she did. She'd spent several minutes studying him through her scope. She spoke, her voice rough with pain but still commanding. Words in her own language that the translator struggled with. "She's sane." Davis checked his unit. "She's saying she marked you, target marked, but she didn't shoot. She wants to know why she didn't shoot." Chen knelt beside her, close enough that if she'd had any strength left, she could have killed him with her bare hands. "I don't know," he said honestly. "Why didn't you?" She stared at him for a long moment. Then she said something else. "She says you looked at the tree line, right at her position, like you knew where she was." Davis's voice was confused. "She says only war dancers can feel the aim. She wants to know what you are." Chen remembered that moment. The prickle at the back of his neck, the instinctive turn toward danger. He'd always had good instincts. He'd never thought much about it. "I'm just a soldier," he said. "Same as you." The Valkorin's laugh was wet, painful, and utterly without humor. Morrison was calling for evac and a medical team. The Valkorin female would be a prisoner, assuming she survived transport. Intel would want her. Command would want her. She'd disappear into some black site and never be seen again. Chen should have been fine with that. He wasn't. She survived. Chen didn't know why he kept checking on her status, but he did. Through back channels, through favors owed, through careful questions that wouldn't attract attention. The Valkorin sniper, he learned her name was Kethris, War Dancer 3rd rank, was in a secure medical facility on Armstrong Station, recovering from wounds that would have killed anything less stubborn. Intel was frustrated. She wasn't talking, wasn't cooperating, wasn't breaking under any of their standard approaches. After 3 weeks, they'd gotten nothing useful except her name and rank. Chen requested a transfer to Armstrong Station. His KO thought he was crazy. His squad mates thought he was suffering from some kind of combat stress disorder. Maybe they were right. But he kept seeing that moment. The laser on his chest, tracing patterns, and the shot that never came. He needed to understand why. The guards led him into her cell with minimal questions. Security clearance and a reputation for keeping his mouth shut went a long way. Kethris was sitting cross-legged on her bunk, eyes closed, when he entered. Her wounds had mostly healed. The Valkorin were resilient, but she still moved carefully. "Sergeant Chen," she said without opening her eyes. "I wondered when you would come. You speak standard. I speak 11 languages. Your interrogators are not as clever as they think." She opened her eyes, and that pale amber gaze found his face. Sit. You have questions. I might answer some of them." He sat on the single chair, keeping his distance. She could probably still kill him if she wanted to. He was counting on the fact that she didn't. "Why didn't you shoot me?" Straight to the heart of it. Very human. She tilted her head, studying him. "I have killed 417 of your people. Soldiers, mostly. A few officers. One very persistent pilot who kept surviving crashes. The scars on your arms only show 300. I stopped counting after a while. It seemed excessive." She shifted, wincing slightly. "You were number 418. Clean shot. Easy kill. Your armor has a weak point at the left shoulder joint. Most human armor does. I could put a round through it and into your heart before you knew you were dying. But you didn't." "No." She was quiet for a moment. "You felt me." "Excuse me?" "My aim." "You felt it." She leaned forward, intensity in every line of her body. That should not be possible. The War Dancer's focus is trained from childhood. It is a sacred skill, a gift from our ancestors. When we mark a target, they do not know until they are dead. But I turned toward you. You turned toward me. She nodded. "I have marked thousands. None have ever felt the aim. Until you." Chen processed that. He'd always trusted his instincts, but he'd never thought of them as anything special. "What does that mean to your people?" "It means either you are something more than human, or I am something less than Valkorin." Her smile was sharp. "I prefer the first explanation. So you let me live because I confused you. I let you live because you interested me. There is a difference." She rose from the bunk, moving to stand before him. Even injured. She was imposing, tall, graceful, deadly. "Your interrogators want information about our fleet movements, our command structure, our weaknesses. I'm not an interrogator. No. Go. You are something stranger." She extended her hand, a human gesture, oddly formal. "I will make you a deal, Sergeant Chen. You come here. You talk to me. Not as prisoner and captor, as equals. You help me understand what you are. In exchange, I will answer some of your questions. Not about tactics or strategy. About us. What we believe. Why we fight. The things your intelligence officers are too blind to ask." It was unprecedented. It was probably illegal. It was definitely stupid. "Deal," Chen said, and shook her hand. Her grip was stronger than he expected. Her skin was cooler. And when their eyes met, he saw something he hadn't seen in any Valkorin before. Hope. They met every day for 2 weeks. Kethris told him about the War Dancer traditions, the training, the philosophy, the almost spiritual connection between sniper and target. Chen told her about growing up on Mars, about the academy, about the first time he'd killed an enemy combatant, and how it had felt like losing something he couldn't name. She listened without judgment. "Your people think killing is shameful," she observed one day. "You do it anyway, but you carry it like a wound. Don't yours. We carry it like an honor. Each death we cause elevates our spirit, brings us closer to the ancestors." She paused. "Or so we are taught. I have begun to wonder if the ancestors are pleased by anything we do. Doubt isn't common among war dancers, I'm guessing. Doubt is execution. Questioning the path means death." She smiled without humor. "I am already dead in the eyes of my people, Sergeant. Captured alive, speaking with the enemy. There's no redemption from this. Then why cooperate? Because I am tired." The admission seemed to cost her. 300 years of war. Before humans, it was the Kethari. Before them, the Sundered Ones. "My people have been fighting for so long we have forgotten why we started." 300 years. How old are you? Old enough to remember the beginning. Young enough to wish for an ending. Chen did the math and felt his stomach drop. She'd been fighting longer than humanity had been a spacefaring species. "Kethris, what do you want?" "Really?" She looked at him for a long moment. I want to feel the aim one more time, she said quietly. But not as a killer. Not as a weapon. I want to point my rifle at something and choose not to fire. Not because of confusion or curiosity, but because I no longer wish to destroy. That sounds like peace. Perhaps. I would not know. I have never experienced it. The alarm came the next morning. Valkorin fleet detected at the edge of the system. Not a scouting party. A full assault force. Armstrong Station was directly in their path. Chen found Kethris in her cell, standing at the small window watching the stars. They have come for me, she said. To rescue you, to kill me. A war dancer taken alive is a shame that must be erased. She turned to face him. They will destroy this station and everyone on it. Standard doctrine, no witnesses. We can fight against 40 ships. Your station has, 3 defense platforms? She shook her head. No, Sergeant. This is the end I have been waiting for. I only regret. What? I regret that you will die too. You, who felt the aim. You, who listened when you had no reason to. The station shuddered, first impacts hitting the shields. Chen made a decision. Come with me. What? You know their tactics? Their formations? Their weaknesses? He grabbed her arm. Help us fight. Not for the Accord. For yourself. For the ending you said you wanted. You would trust me with a weapon. You had a weapon pointed at my heart and didn't fire. Yes, I trust you. The station shuddered again. Somewhere. Metal screen. Kethris looked at his hand on her arm, then at his face. She marked me as a target on the battlefield. Then cleared the fire zone, she murmured. That is what they will say about you, Sergeant Chen. That you walked into my crosshairs and walked out again, and somehow convinced me to walk with you. Is that a yes? Her smile was fierce, wild, utterly alive. Give me a rifle. The battle for Armstrong Station lasted 6 hours. Chen had expected Kethris to direct from the rear, providing tactical analysis. Instead, she demanded access to the station's defense platforms, personally taking control of the targeting systems with a skill that left the human operators speechless. Formation 7, she snapped into the comm. 3 ships. Attack vector bearing 047. They will attempt to flank, redirect Platform 2, now. Platform 2 fired. 3 ships became expanding clouds of debris. How did you know? Chen demanded. Because I designed Formation 7. Her hands moved across the controls. I have been fighting this war longer than your species has existed. I know every tactic, every pattern, every weakness. Because I created half of them. The Valkorin fleet was large, but they'd expected easy prey. They hadn't expected one of their own war dancers directing the defense. They hadn't expected their own strategies turned against them. And they definitely hadn't expected Kethris to broadcast, on an open channel that every Valkorin ship would receive. This is War Dancer Kethris, 3rd rank, daughter of the Endless Hunt. I have not been captured. I have not been broken. I have chosen. For the first time in 300 years, I have chosen something other than death. The fleet hesitated. Chen could almost feel their confusion. I have marked 417 humans, Kethris continued. I let the 418th live. Do you know why? Because he felt the aim. Because something in him recognized something in me. Because after 300 years, I finally found an enemy who looked at me like a person instead of a target. Kethris, Chen said quietly. What are you doing? Ending a war. She looked at him, and her amber eyes were brighter than he'd ever seen them. Or at least, beginning to. She keyed another command, and the station's entire weapons array powered to maximum. I know where your command ship is hiding, she broadcast. I know your admiral's tactics. I know every blind spot in your formation. Withdraw now, and I will let you go. Continue this attack and I will teach these humans how to kill Valkorin. I will give them everything, every secret, every weakness, every sacred technique. Silence. Then, slowly, the Valkorin fleet began to turn. Chen watched them go, hardly daring to breathe. Around him, station personnel were staring at Kethris with expressions ranging from terror to awe. They're leaving, someone whispered. They're actually leaving. Kethris slumped in her chair, exhaustion finally showing. Her hands were shaking. Chen knelt beside her. What happens now? Your people. They'll hunt you forever, probably. She managed a weak smile. But I finally chose, for myself, not for the ancestors, not for honor, not for the endless war, for me. And what did you choose? She reached out, touching his face with cool fingers. I chose to clear the fire zone, Sergeant Chen. Around you. Around this station. Around anyone else I can reach. She laughed softly. I was created to mark targets. I think perhaps I am better suited to unmark them. That might take a while. I have time. 3 centuries of war to undo. Her eyes found his. Will you help me? Chen thought about his orders. His career. His entire life as a soldier fighting an enemy he'd never really understood. Then he thought about a red dot tracing patterns on his chest, and a choice that changed everything. Yes, he said. I will. The war didn't end that day. It would take years, decades, of work, sacrifice, and painful negotiation. But it did end, eventually. Historians would argue about when it truly began to change, when the tide turned from endless slaughter towards something like peace. Chen knew exactly when. It was the moment a war dancer chose not to fire, and a human chose to trust her anyway.